Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Education Today. I'm your host, Scott Noons. Thanks for joining me this nice and dark Saturday morning here on the West Coast. The sun's just coming up. I took a quick peek outside. It is up, but it's not up all the way. For those of you joining us on the East Coast, hope it's shining nice and bright where you're at and you're out there enjoying your day, maybe doing some Twitter chat. So thanks for taking a break and joining us. Our guest today is Brent Coley. So educator, admin, author, and Q affiliate as well. That's actually how we linked up. Without further ado, let's welcome Brent onto the show. Hey, how are you doing, bud?
Oh, Scott, I'm great, man. Thanks so much for having me. Like you said, it's bright and early, but gosh, what a better way to start the weekend than chatting stories, chatting education with a friend. So thanks for having me.
And we got a couple folks joining us from the last show. Don Sturm saying, long time no see. Dan Krein is back again. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me again. I really do appreciate it. So are you like me, Brent? Did you just start your break like today? Is today day one for you?
Yes. I always like to say, people at my school, they know that yesterday is the best Friday of the year.
Yes.
Like it is the best Friday of the year because it's leading into winter break. For me, it's better than the last Friday before summer because that's not really my last day of work. I mean, because I'm still going to work several more weeks into the summer. So, yeah, I am on break. Yeah, very, very excited about the opportunity to recharge.
Yeah, same here. I think sometimes educators can feel guilty for looking forward to break. And normally I don't look forward to it as much as I do this year, but with the pandemic and just going like 120%, it feels like on the daily,
Yeah.
I need to recharge. I
No,
need more time
absolutely.
with my family. Go for it.
No, I was going to say, I think you hit on a good point there. And I do daily quotes on a whiteboard in our staff lounge. And one of the quotes I did just this week was, if you're looking forward to break, that doesn't mean you're a bad teacher. That doesn't mean you don't love what you do. That doesn't mean you don't love your kids. It means you're human. It means you're tired. And this year, more than any other, I mean, you got to take care of yourself. You can't fill from an empty cup. And so, yeah, if you're out there listening and watching here, it's like, don't feel guilty. It doesn't mean you don't love what you do. It means you're human and you got to have that rest. You got to recharge. And like you said, you got to spend time with your family first. So,
yeah, I'm finding that out. I love to hustle, love just spending my free time engaging with educators. I know some educators like to leave work at work and not touch it, just kind of do it and leave it. That's not me. I came to the realization, like, I love this so much that I'm all in. Like, so many of my friends are educators. My best friends now, in fact, are educators. So I'm always talking shop. I do have to be mindful when I'm around my wife at Christmas parties, well, which aren't going on this year, but typically, right, in a standard year, not to just talk shop all the time because it kind of alienates her. She can't relate as much because she's not in the field, even though her whole family, like everybody, mom, dad, stepdad, aunts, uncles, all educators.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah. So it's good to step away. And speaking of stepping away, let's step back a little bit into your journey. Where did you start and how did you transition into this current admin role that you're in right now?
Wow. So my journey into education didn't start. It's not like a lot of the stories that you'll hear where you'll hear a lot of teachers say, "Well, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. Or my mom is a teacher. My dad was a teacher, so I was going to follow in their footsteps." I wanted to be a computer programmer. I mean,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I wanted to be a computer programmer. My dad worked for a computer distributor. So when I was growing up, so I had a personal computer in the home like third grade. So I started learning to program in BASIC in third, fourth grade. So I wanted to be a computer programmer. And then I got to college. Fast forward to college, I was in a computer science major, and I had to take 4 semesters of calculus at the junior college where I started
Mhm.
before transferring to the 4-year university. So first semester I got a D, took it again the next semester, got a B. Went to
Nice.
the second semester of calculus, I got another D, and I stopped and realized I don't have time to do all of this twice. I can't take everything quiet. And this is at the JC. And I remember teaching was always like in the back of my mind. I remember having those thoughts like, gosh, that would be so fun. Like I would really like that, but it was never an option because I'm going to be a computer programmer. So I had a great conversation with my parents one night. The very next day, changed my major, went down the education path, and here I am today. I taught for 15 years as a fourth and fifth grade teacher. Loved it. And you mentioned like, how did I shift into admin? I know a lot of, again, not necessarily the path that many admin would take. I know some people, I want to teach for X number of years, and then I want to transition into admin. People used to ask me when I was a teacher, oh, so you want to be a principal someday? And my response was usually, are you drunk? Like, like, no, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Like, I became a teacher because I wanted to be a teacher, and I'm going to retire teacher. Um, the short answer is I really felt called into
Mhm.
this position, um, because I loved what I was doing. I loved what I was doing. People say, do you miss the classroom? And it's like every single day I miss it. I think I wasn't running from the classroom like, oh, I got to get out of here and do something else.
Mhm.
I felt called, and positions opened up, and people kind of guided me to this position, and I'm in year 8 as a principal. I was 2 years in AP, so it's year 10 as a administrator, and I'm blessed. I'm having a great time. I love the people that I work with, and I have amazing students and families at our school. Unfortunately, we're not seeing them in person right now,
Right.
but through the computer screens and through the emails and Zoom meetings and stuff like that, we're connecting. So that's the story of how I got here.
No, and that's so cool. And I think some of the best admins have a very similar story. It was more of a calling than a want, like, I'm going to go down this track.
Yeah,
It seems a little problematic when people do that. Like, from the outside looking in, it seems like a really good plan. Like, hey, I'm going to get in, I'm going to do my time, then I'm going to be an admin because that's where the money is. That could
yeah,
be one example of somebody. But then being an admin is totally different. Like, I'm not an admin yet, but I have some admin like responsibilities. And sometimes I
hmm
am referred to an admin. And, when I get a chance, I correct people. Technically, I'm not, but I have some admin like responsibilities. And there's pressure from both sides, from the upper echelon of admin. There's some
yeah,
pressure. And then you have pressure from the community, pressure from teachers and parents and students. Being a building level principal or admin is one of the toughest jobs. I do not want that job. I thought before, maybe I could do it. Now, I don't know. Hats off to you, brother, because that is a tough, tough job. I was very blessed when I was at Enoch. So shout out to Enoch's Eagles. And we had such great admin. Even now,
yeah,
my boss, Mike Rich, is great. I want to tell a quick story
yeah.
about him. Uh, this is how you know a great admin. I won a free ticket to Fall Q, and I'm like, how am I going to go? Like, yeah, I could pay for it out of pocket, but
Yeah.
I really don't want to be spending money all the time for conferences. And this was before I really started going. I had just gone to ISTE, went to Schoology Next, and then I won this ticket. I'm like, okay, I spent a lot this summer going to these other conferences. I don't want to spend more, right? You
Yeah.
know, happy wife, happy life kind of
There
thing.
you go.
And my boss, Mike Rich, really stepped it up. He's like, "Oh, I'll share my room with you." Well, when we get there, we were thinking, "Oh, we could just ask for, a double bed." And it turns out, no, they were all sold out.
Mm,
So we got a one bed. I said, "Okay, I'll sleep in the chair or whatever. It'll be a rough couple of nights, but I'll make it through." And
sure.
he's like, "No, you get the bed. I insist. I'm gonna sleep on the floor." And I argued with him a few times, and he's like, "No." He's like, "I go camping. I'm good." And I knew right then, like,
That's
hey, this
awesome.
guy has some character. I had already seen it before, and I've seen it since. And he does a great job of having the right balance between praise and, you know, um, sticking it to you sometimes. Like if I make a mistake, he's definitely going to get on me, but in a positive and constructive way.
Awesome.
Like, hey, you should really, do these videos this way because here's this research that I got from this ISTE certification course. Like adult learners don't learn this way.
Yeah.
I want to point out some comments we got in the chat. So um, let's see. Don Sturm says something you don't hear often. Good talk with parents about changing majors. How did your parents take that? Were they okay with that? What were their thoughts?
No, I remember that conversation like it was yesterday. We're sitting in the living room with mom and dad. And no, I remember my dad, we were just talking and I'm like telling them, I don't have time to do this. And I remember my dad saying, do you want to do this? Like
Mm,
that was like, is this something you want? Because if it's something you want, we know you can do it. But and backing up a little bit, I mean, I wasn't putting in the maximum amount of effort in these calculus classes. I'm going to be very transparent. I mean, I played a lot of volleyball in college, a lot of two-man volleyball. So I was more interested in upping my volleyball game than acing the tests in calculus. Now, I was a good student, but I wasn't. So basically, my dad was like, is this something you want? Because I wasn't the type of student who I could roll out of bed and just do these calculus problems. I really had to work on it. And did I want to do that?
right.
Because he just said, like, because you're going to be going up against people who do roll out of bed and can do calculus in their sleep. And he's like, and just want to clarify, it was not a we don't think you can do this. It was the opposite. We know you can do this. It was, do you want to do this? Because and the answer was like, no. Like, I want to be a computer, but I don't want to do all this calculus type stuff. So that's kind of how they were incredibly supportive. And now it's great because getting involved with Q and educational technology, and I had a
Yeah.
classroom website and podcasting, I'm able to do both of my loves. I'm able to teach, I'm able to lead, but I'm also able to bring in that technology component. So it's all worked out great. And Don, Don said, "How big is my building?" I have about 850 students currently. We've fluctuated over the years between 750 and 920. We're at about 850 right
Wow.
now, and I agree. I do have two amazing parents, amazing parents. So, mom and dad, if you're watching, I love you. So, thank you for all that you do.
Yeah, we got a lot of kudos for the parents. So Rosalba says modeling
Rosalba.
and helping.
Yeah,
And Tim Cavey in the house. I'll be joining him and some other edu podcasters a little later today, right after this. And he says, kudos to your
awesome.
parents for allowing you to pursue your true passions. It's really interesting. I started in the same vein, but in high school, like all throughout middle school, high school, I wanted to do programming or graphic design or some equivalent. And then senior year, about 2/3 of the way through, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be behind a computer all the time. I love being around people.
Yeah.
I need to have a job that's relational and not a relationship with the computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Solely, I need to get out. I need some changes. And so then I switched to business, and then I took financial accounting, and oh, I was so bored. I powered through. I passed the class, but it was painful. And I had this really cool English professor. He's since passed away. May he rest in peace. Tom West. And he was so cool. He was hip. He listened to heavy metal, and he had his daughter, and he was a stay-at-home dad by day, taught classes at night, and seemed to have this work-life balance thing going on. And he was so well read. I thought, wow, this is cool. And he convinced me I interviewed him for a paper. And in that interview, he convinced me that being an English major is the coolest major ever. Now, none of the things he said were possible happened for me. As an English major, I've really struggled. That's part of the reason I got into teaching. It's like, what can I do? Well, I really can't do anything with this English degree. Not true, but
Yeah.
it was tough. I was looking at this when the economy crashed, and I thought, okay, there's teaching. My wife does nursing. That's really nice. I love the flexibility of that schedule. You're helping people.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. Took classes for both. Ended up going with teaching because I knew this was my gig for sure. Dawn says, if I were a programmer, your office mates would be like, oh, nice. I think this is a good time to put you in the hot seat. Are you ready for that? So this is a little game I like to play, a little quick this or that style game where I ask you a series of questions. You answer as many as you can within a minute. I'm pulling up the questions right now. So this morning, Chip Baker, he was able to get 13. I wonder if you can beat that.
Oh, geez. No pressure.
Pressure's on. Wow. I don't know how competitive you are. I know you did two-man volleyball.
I'm pretty competitive, but as I've gotten older, I've realized I'm not as good as I used to be. Right.
Okay, so here we go. Hoodie or jacket?
Hoodie.
Happiness or hard work or patience?
Patience.
Rap or rock?
Rock.
Side hustle or work?
Work.
Elf or Home Alone?
Elf, definitely.
Snickers or Twix?
Twix.
Milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Would you rather be hungry or thirsty?
Hungry.
Okay, lions or tigers or bears?
Lions.
Ocean or mountains?
Mountains.
Change the past or see the future?
Change the past.
Britney or Christina Aguilera?
Britney.
Lose hearing or lose sight?
Hearing.
Okay, and we are time. Let me see. 1, 2. So you got 11 by my count.
Chip, 11. You're the man. Chip's the man.
Chip is the man. It's okay. It's okay. Maybe I went faster. Blame it on me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, Don is saying, hey, you never put me on the hot seat. Hey, we'll have to have you back. We're on break. There's time now. Bruce, thanks for tuning in. Thank you. Amanda, thanks for tuning in. must be having some TMNT talk there. Turtle power. I love turtles. I'm going to go off on a quick tangent with that. I had the honor and privilege of helping to save a sea turtle in Hawaii 2 years ago.
Wow.
It was so cool because I love snorkeling. I love being in the water. I have this sweet place I like to stay at, and the turtles come up almost every morning unless there's a storm or people are bugging them, which is unfortunate. And I saw this guy by this turtle, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, that guy's too close. And so I went to go talk to him to let him know, like, hey, you're not supposed to be close to the turtles. And he said, hey, I called this number here on the board. Do you think anybody will come? And I said, yeah. And I said, why? And he's like, take a look. There was fishing line wrapped all around the sea turtle, around the mouth. Longer story short, the volunteer came out, asked for volunteers. I volunteered, got to help hold the sea turtle. They are very strong. It took 4 pretty strong guys to hold the sea turtle in place so the volunteer could cut the line. And, I got to help out, pull some of the line out. And I felt really accomplished. This was like at 6 a.m. Over there in Hawaii on my vacation. And so what a great way. I was just gleaming, smiling ear to ear the rest of that day. And
very cool. That's really
cool.
That's really cool.
I love sea turtles, not necessarily all turtles, but specifically those sea turtles. I love snorkeling. I miss it. I can't wait until things get a little bit better. We're able to go back and spend some time there. Very healing place. If you could go anywhere right now, where would you go?
I'd probably go back to Hawaii. Yeah, we got to go a couple summers ago to the island of Kauai. Yeah, I did some snorkeling.
That's my island.
Yeah, that's the place because it's so relaxed and casual, and yeah, we got it's perfect. It's perfect. So yeah, that's where I would go, back to Kauai.
I'm with you, Amanda. I need some cool music for the hot seat, right? Maybe I got to hop on Fiverr, get some volunteers who are a little more musically inclined than myself. Dawn too is hoping for Hawaii. Amanda's hoping for Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a cool one. One of my coworkers went. He's half Irish. I'm with Dawn. I'm with you though. I want to go to Hawaii. It's so healing. We lost our first child about 32 and a half weeks in utero, and we were just like devastated. We had just had the baby shower. My wife took everything out, cleaned everything, built the crib, and then days later we found out we lost the baby, and we were just crushed. And so I said, hey, we got to get away before you go back to work. This is really hard. So we had been to Maui for our honeymoon, but we went to Hawaii, and the Hawaiian people were just so great towards us. We met a lady named Tracy. Her taco place isn't there anymore. It transitioned to a place called Paco's Tacos. It was over in Hanapepe. Sorry. It's early. And we would go there for a time, and then we lost touch with her, but it brought us such peace and joy during that time. And we have friends over there now, and the church community as well is so amazing. My kids one time were kicking and crying, and I'm like, oh no, I'm so embarrassed. And these 2 ladies were like, is it okay if they come sit by us? And we're like, sure. And they took care of our kids for us. The kids stopped. They were like going through the hymnal and showing the kids the books. And
that's great.
Wow. Like, when I think of Hawaii, I think of family. I really do, not to be cliche, but the community over there is just so hospitable,
Hmm.
and I appreciate that. I'm treated very well, and not just because I'm giving people money.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I really try to do my best to be respectful when we're over there and honor their traditions, and whatnot. It's a lovely place.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
back to you. I want to get into some teacher stories. How did this book come about? Stories of edu influence.
Well, I had the idea not for a book, but I had the idea. I'm a huge believer in the power of stories. I
Mm,
mean, everybody has a story, and in doing some research on it, it's the type of thing where um, when you people hear stories, it actually produces neurochemicals in the brain, cortisol, oxytocin, those feelings of joy. It improves focus. And I mean, if you're like me, like when I'm in church and the pastor starts in the middle of the sermon, starts saying like, well, a couple of years ago, and he starts telling a story, I lean forward, my
mhm,
ears perk. It's like, ooh, he's telling a story. Everyone loves stories. Greatest teacher ever to walk the earth, a carpenter who could walk on water. Um, he told through stories. I mean, it's something like that. And I had the idea for a Q session several years ago, um, about sharing stories from my experience. Just like, hey, and what did we learn from that? And then a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to speak at a few conferences to give the keynote address, and I talked about this. That's what I did. I came up with the term edu influence, and I basically told stories and the lessons that I've learned from those stories. So um, after those speaking engagements, it was well received, and I thought, you know what, I want to try to reach more
mhm,
people. I'm going to write this down, and I prayed about it, like, Lord, is this what you want me to do? And I just got that encouragement that, yeah, go do this. So that's what I did. And every chapter of the book is edu influence is kind of that term that I've come up with, which is um, the life changing impact that all educators have. And if I asked you, Scott, or if you ask a bunch of teachers, hey, think of a teacher who made a great impact. In so many teachers' minds, teachers tend to go to John Keating, Robin Williams' character in Dead Poet Society,
mm, mhm,
or Jaime Escalante from Stand and Deliver. They tend to think like, oh yeah, those people, those are the amazing teachers. Those are the ones that really impact.
mhm,
But what they fail to do, I think, too often is include themselves in that role. They it's like, whoa, no. If you're a third grade teacher, if you're a 10th grade English teacher, you are just like those. You are making the same impact that those other teachers. And if you're thinking, well, but I don't stand on desks like Robin Williams did, or I don't give up my Saturdays to tutor kids to pass the AP calculus test. I mean, like, where was Jaime Escalante when I needed him? But it's like we can have that same impact. So that's why I wrote the book. I did not write it to make money because I'm not getting rich off this. I wrote it because I want to encourage teachers
mhm,
or site leaders. So every chapter in the book is a different power. So there's the
mm,
power of relationships. There's the power of fun, the power of little things, the power of a name. Chapter 6 is the power of apology. So
ooh,
literally the entire book is stories from my nearly 25 years in education, both in the classroom and then as a site administrator. Stories that will encourage and hopefully remind educators that, hey, you don't have to be Robin Williams. You are changing the lives of those students that you serve. So that's where it came. That's my passion, is sharing stories, because I think everybody has them. Everybody has them, and I've yet to meet somebody who doesn't like a good story. And the only thing better than a good story is a story with a message. So
Yeah. What would you say your overall message is?
Uh, do not underestimate the impact that you make. Do not underestimate the impact
Right.
that you make. And can I share a quick story?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Please do.
I'll share one of the examples that I share in the book is I call this my water bottle story. When I taught fifth grade back in Orange County, we had an event called Literature Appreciation Day. That it was in conjunction with Dr. Seuss's birthday, and it was a day completely devoted to reading for all of our elementary school kids, where we set up a schedule where all of our teachers would rotate and go to other classes and get to read to students. Kids came in their PJs and they brought pillows and blankets and moved all the desks and chairs to the side. And I was really excited, number one, because I was going to get to wear sweats and pajamas to school that day. But number two, I was going to get to see some former students because as a fifth grade teacher, I was going to go to a fourth grade class. I was going to go to a different fifth grade class. And I was going to go to a sixth grade class and get to see some of the kids I taught the previous year. So I get to one of the sixth grade classes. And so I've got, for people who are watching here, I mean, I've got my book in one hand, I've got a water bottle in the other hand, because I would always have a water bottle when I read, because I would get parched as I was reading. So I sit on the stool in the front and I start to read. And a couple minutes in, I stop. So for people who are watching this, I've got a water bottle here. So I've got my book. I stop and I unscrew the water bottle like this. I take a little drink and I screw the water bottle back on and I continue reading. And I'm just a couple words in, and one of the girls in the front row throws her head back and says, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Coley, I totally remember that." And I'm like, what are you talking about? Now, this girl I taught in fifth grade. I also taught her in fourth grade. And I said, "Well, what?" I'm like completely confused. I said, "What are you
Uh-huh.
talking about?" And she said, "Mr. Coley, whenever you would read to us, you always held the book in one hand and a water bottle in the other. And whenever you would take a drink, you always unscrewed the water bottle. You always screwed the cap with one hand. And you always would screw it back on with one hand. And I was always amazed that you could do that." And, and I share that story because up until that point, Scott, I didn't even realize that I drank water when I read to kids. I didn't even realize I had a water bottle with me, not to mention the fact that I unscrewed the cap with one hand. So the message for that is like kind of going back to what's my overall message is you can't underestimate the impact that you're having, because our kids, our students, just like if we're parents, your own children, they're watching everything that we do.
Yes.
Everything. I mean, this is a student that I taught for 2 years, meaning I taught her for 360 days, countless lessons in math, English language arts, social studies, science, PE, art. But on that day, what she remembered from Mr. Coley was that I unscrewed a water bottle cap with one hand. And we can get freaked out about that. Like, oh my gosh, they're watching me everything. What if I mess up? Well, spoiler alert, you're gonna mess up. So that just you need to accept that. That's chapter 6 in the book. You're gonna mess up. It's what do we do once we do mess up? But what an opportunity, Scott. If they're
Right.
watching everything we do, what an opportunity when they see us holding the door open for our colleagues, when they see us smiling because they don't get smiles at home, when they see us
Mhm.
demonstrate patience for that one kid in class that none of the other teachers have patience for, because kids notice stuff like that. They notice everything we do, and it doesn't matter if you're a kindergarten teacher, it doesn't matter if you're a professor at the college level. They're watching, they're noticing. That's not something to be freaked out about. It's an amazing opportunity.
Yes, and we have to seize the day, right? Carpe
There we go.
diem, with each of those days, no matter where we are, a couple of things I want to extract from that. Uh, the smiles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never underestimate the power of a smile. You talked about how that student noticed the water bottle, something I didn't realize I did, but I'm grateful I did. I guess I
Mm-hmm.
smile a lot in class. I don't know if I, am doing it right now on
You do
camera.
smile a lot, which is great.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I'm not necessarily aware of that. It just comes through. And so they would say, "Wow, you know, what do you do? Why are you so happy all the time?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm happy, but am I really that happy? What makes you think that?" And I've had multiple students say, "You're always smiling." Or I went to a conference and um, one of the husbands of one of my friends said, "You're always smiling." Like, oh, okay. He's like, that's great. Like he asked me the same thing, and I thought, okay, this might be one of my teacher superpowers. I need to bring that because, like you said, not all students have that. For lack of a better word, it sucks.
You
I
know,
want that.
and that's the
Uh,
power. I call that, that's one of the powers of the little things. That's one of the
mhm,
chapters in the book. It's the little things. You think, well, it's just a smile. Just a smile. If that kid's never seen a smile, hasn't seen a smile in 6 months at
mhm.
home, you may be the only person in that child's life who smiles. And that's. I mean, we say the power of the little things, but that's not little. A smile
Yeah.
is not, while it's little, it's not little. It is life changing. So that's awesome. Way to go
And
for smiling, buddy.
yeah, hey, thanks. A message from Cheryl. I just got a great compliment relayed by a mother of a former student who's now an adult. Warm my heart. Yeah,
Yep.
those are the best. On Instagram this week, I shared a little note. I've shared it out before, but it's from a mom. And to give some context, the dad is very frail. He had brain cancer. I think he's still suffering from it or from surgeries and chemo and whatnot. So dad's not doing so well, even to this day. Last time I checked in with the family about a year ago, and she said, the year has only begun and you're already making a difference. And what really
Mm,
moved me was this is a kid people had already given up on. And, I could have done the same. And for whatever reason, I didn't jump on the bandwagon and do that. I said, you know what? Um, you're gonna make it someday. You're
yeah.
going to do something someday, and you're gonna save the day. He has the name of a character in a movie um, that my kiddos used to watch a lot at that time, and I said, "You're like that character,"
Mm,
and I would just, say that genuinely um, to him, and uh, things aren't perfect. He ended up getting kicked out of school, got caught up in some things, but
mhm,
we touched base later in person. He was at the school for extended summer school. We caught up real quick, and he said, "Hey, I'm doing better." He said, "Hey, I still remember that."
mm.
And I don't want to spoil it, but that story is going to be in a book. So I'll let the audience know when that comes out. There's a
Awesome.
little bit more to the story, but so cool. You never know the impact that you're going to have. So show up, be present, even on your worst days. You never know. Those could be some of your best days. Give all of yourself in those little moments and you're going to stretch yourself. Earlier I talked to Chip Baker and he said one of the keys to success is having that day where you hustle and you're so accomplished and then repeating that and you have a week and
Mm,
then extending to a month, a year, and we even went as far as decades. um, Apply that to education and that's where you're going to get
yep.
uh, you know that Dead Poet Society teacher, but in a realistic way, right? You're not gonna
Yeah.
get on a desk, Captain, my captain, very cool dramatically. And there are some teachers like that.
Sure.
Um,
And we can do
But
that too. You just don't
yeah,
have to do that to make an impact.
right. We don't have to. Just showing up and giving the opportunity warmed my heart so much last year. There was a student who had a dad that was recently imprisoned,
Mm,
and you know, tragic circumstance, and the student, quite frankly, was missing her dad. And I just tried to be there, and I let the student know, you matter more than the stuff.
yep.
Yes, you know, this is going to be a good skill for you to have,
Yeah.
but you want to go and do this other career, it doesn't require school. She was going to go into the family business. And I said, you'll be fine.
Mm,
But if you succeed at this, meaning education in school, you'll succeed even more in business because you'll have these
sure.
additional skills. And I try to convey that. Well, that student never perked up academically, but emotionally, the student became more engaged in class activities and participated
Awesome.
that way. And I think, or I hope, I guess, I don't know for sure, but I really got a sense that the student found value. They felt that they mattered, that they were enough in that class. And I love being able to provide that space and that opportunity, because we have a saying here in the district I work for: every student matters and every
Hmm.
moment counts. And you know, it seems a little cheesy
It's
sometimes,
true.
but it's so, so true.
Yeah,
Uh, and Don
absolutely.
saying, thanks for the convo. Take care, Don. He's got to jump out.
Thanks, Don.
Dave saying, great discussion. I too have to get my get to my grading. Yes, thanks for joining us. Uh,
Thanks,
Yes.
guys.
Thanks to everyone tuning in. And just to remind everyone, by participating in the chat, that's your way of entering for the book giveaway of Brent's book, Stories of Edu Influence. And I'm sharing a couple. I wanted to share one more story.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't remember what you said that sparked this story, but my very first day as a teacher, I still remember it. Sixth period, shook a student's hand, and then he proceeded to go and stand on top of his desk and blurt out very loudly, "I'm the effing king of the world."
Oh, geez.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." My training kind of prepared me for this.
Yeah.
It actually did. I had a great set of mentor teachers, and they said, "Hey, you know, a kid could do a bomb threat day one. What are you going to do?" And we walked through different scenarios. So
Mhm.
calmly went over, made sure not to be reactionary. I did react. I had to do something,
Sure.
and I just pulled the student aside and I said, "Hey, you know, that's not cool. We just met. I gave you some respect when you walked in. Please show me some respect and kind."
Mhm.
And that student really challenged me. It was tough at the time, but now I see it not so much as a challenge, but an opportunity to
Yep.
step up, to showcase my dedication to that student, to the field, to those that need me, because you're going to get those students that project whatever's going on at home, whatever negative emotion they're
Yep.
feeling. And it's not you, it's them, but you can be there for them. How do you
Absolutely.
recommend teachers uh, engage with those students and help kind of shape them into a better version of themselves, or, you know, not forcing it upon them, but just being there? What would
I,
you
I,
say?
I think it's relationships
Hmm.
is kind of like you said with that student, you pulled him aside and said, "Hey man," and you talked about respect and things like that. Like, I want to give you respect. And it all starts with relationships. It is all about relationships. And I also think, I mean, that's chapter 2, power of relationships, sharing stories about that. But I also think it's kind of like what you touched on and said, that there are stories that we don't see. There
Mhm.
are things going on in these kids' lives, kids meaning from 5 years old to 18 years old or beyond. I mean, everyone, even adults. We don't see all the stories. We're not seeing the baggage that they're bringing with them. We're not seeing what is causing him to stand on his desk and blurt something inappropriate out. We're not seeing that. So I think just going in with a mindset of every behavior, there's a reason for every behavior. There's a reason for it. Um,
Mhm.
and understanding that and attempting to, and I think we're seeing right now with virtual instruction across the country, we're on Zoom meetings or Google Meet or Teams meetings all day. Our teachers are with students. And literally, we are getting a glimpse, literally, into their homes
Right.
because over their shoulders, we are seeing stuff that is going on in some of these homes. And teachers are able to see, whoa, there's a lot going on in that house right now. There's a lot of chaos. It's not
Right.
very quiet. It's not very conducive to learning right now. And I think if anything, a silver lining from this pandemic is I think it's opening our eyes because it's always been like that for these kids. It's always
Mhm.
been chaotic at that house. It's always been not necessarily the best environment for learning. We're just now seeing it. So just build those relationships, understand that there's a reason, and just kind of going back to what we were saying that Joe Sanfilippo, who
Oh, he's great.
is fantastic. I mean, I saw him in one of his 1 minute walk to works saying that every interaction may be the interaction that child talks about for the rest of his life or the rest of her life. Every
Mhm.
interaction that you have with a student may be the one that they talk about for the rest of their life. And again, spoiler alert, more than likely, the interaction they have with you is probably not going to be that long division lesson or that
Right.
prepositional phrases lesson. I mean, again, not saying that that's not important, but that's not
Mhm.
going to be more than likely what they're talking about when they go home. They're going to talk about, he believed in me. He's Mr. Nunes. He's always smiling. It
Mhm.
just, that's what they're going to remember. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you want them to remember you well, because you're
mhm.
gonna have an impact. And something I'll share on my worst days, super tired. I didn't sleep well. That first year in teaching, I had just had a newborn like I have right now, and it brings back so many memories of sleepless nights, where I'm up at like 1 and 4 in the morning, like patting this
Yeah.
baby. Like, and I'm barely there, and I've drank all my coffee, and I can't get more, and I got to go to the bathroom because I have 4 periods in succession,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And you're like, there's nothing left in the tank. But even then, just being present in the moment, I realized, you know what? I care about these kids. I want what's best for them.
Mm.
I'm willing to do what it takes. Um, and I knew that I was going to do it better than some other teachers out there, even on my
Mhm.
worst day. Now, not all teachers, right? But I was thinking to some of the candidates in my teaching credential program or other burnt out teachers I'd met while,
Yeah.
kind of prepping for the career, interviewing different teachers. Like, wow, I don't want to be that teacher. The way they speak about the students, like, I can't do the job if that's the job, if every day is hell.
Yeah.
And I think in this career, it can feel like that. If that's the attitude you bring to the table. So you have to have an attitude of gratitude.
Yep.
Be grateful you have the opportunity to serve, and it's tough. One of my friends, Tara, she's out of PA. She's an admin like yourself, and she said, um, you know, that you just I guess backing up, you need to look at these not as challenges, but as opportunities. And I really
Opportunities.
took that to heart. Like, yeah, you may say, oh, I didn't sign up for this, like the distance learning. I didn't sign up for hybrid learning or this new position. There's been many challenges in my new position.
Yeah.
Uh, but you said yes to helping kids. You said yes to helping the community. And so this is an opportunity for you to do that. And I really like that shift in the wording. And I'm like, yeah, this
Yep.
is an opportunity. And building level principal Evan Robb gave me some great advice. He said, you know what? Nobody is going to want to hear you complain about anything. What they are going to want to hear is you saying that you recognize that there's a challenge
Mm-hmm.
and that you're going to arise to that challenge and give your best.
Yep.
And I took that to the bank, and that's what I've been doing. And this week I accomplished so much. I had to pivot on a dime. There was one thing I knew nothing about it, and I had to have a meeting and then help a ton of teachers on it. So I had to look up the thing, learn the thing, teach the thing, and then later that day I'm in a meeting for the thing.
Yeah. Attitude matters.
In charge of it.
Yeah. Your attitude matters. If you go into something, it means everything. It means everything. And as you said, people pick up on that. So.
Mm-hmm. And Rachel, one of the greats from our district, says, so glad to have stumbled upon your discussion this morning and absolutely agree with what Brent is currently saying. And yes, Rachel, shout out to you and Amy, Lorena, Veronica, all of our content coaches. And she also adds attitude of gratitude. That should go into our next newsletter. Well, you know where to find me, Rachel. Let's make it happen. And I'm glad, Rachel's in here because I can bring this up organically. I think behind every great educator, there's a great team. Mm-hmm. I can do what I do and pivot on a dime because I'm supported. People like Rachel have got me. If I fall, if I need help, if I'm a little weak, if I need some research, they're going to be there. And I love it. We have such a great community within our district. I think that's what makes it work. How do you establish a positive culture and community at your site?
I think, again, going back to relationships, that we're people before we're employees. We're a family. I think one of the great things about our school and my district as a whole is there's a real great vibe of family there. And I just think leaning on each other and recognizing, kind of going back to what we said at the beginning, we're human. And there's going to be those challenging days. There's going to be those days when we're tired and needing a break, and that's okay. But I think also, just kind of going back to, you said that great team is looking to others to make us better. I mean, you think back to the generic poster in so many classrooms: team together, everyone achieves more. And it may sound, but it's dead on. It's dead on. And the PLN on Twitter that I have, I mean, just people like, I mean, John Ike, I mean, who I know you know too, John Ike and Corey Orlando and Toby Price, who's an admin in Mississippi that I'm constantly learning from, Weston Kieschnick, who has an amazing podcast teaching Keating. If you haven't listened to that, he takes movies and television shows, he and his wife, and they relate it to education. It's awesome. There's just Pam Hernandez from Q.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too many, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but I mean, there's so many people that I learn from on Twitter that, I mean, we got the opportunity to chat for my podcast, that we're going to release your episode in about a week or so. So, just that would be my encouragement to anyone listening, is reach out there to people beyond your site as well, because I've learned more via Twitter since I joined in 2009. So in 10 plus years than I have in 25 years of organized professional development.
Well,
Just straight up.
I agree. Twitter's amazing, and I was just sharing this out with people yesterday. Like, I can know what's going on in the forefront of education thanks to my PLN. Like when that Google outage happened this week, I knew about it because people were tweeting about it.
Yeah.
And then in DMs, hey, is your Google out? Hey, is your Google out? Well, it wasn't out for me, but for most people, it was out. So I was blessed because I had a ton of work to do. So I was cranking things out just in case it went out. I did all my Google stuff, and that was on that busy day where I had to pivot. So thank you, Google, for not going out on me.
Awesome.
Speaking of podcasts, as we close, I want to make sure people follow you on social media. On Twitter, they can follow you at Brent Coley. Your name's on the screen. You got your tag on there as well. And I want to make sure that they check out, I'm going to mess up the order. Is it Teaching Tales podcast?
Yep.
And they can find that on the podcast player of their choice, but also at brentcoley.com/podcast.html to go directly and see that there. And they can see about hiring you for a speaking gig, because I'll tell you what, after hearing you today, they're going to want to bring you in. It's been great. So they can follow up with you there. And off air, what I'm going to do is take all the names and put it into a little random generator. And so I'm headed off to another podcast with Tim Cavey. Teachers on Fire will be on Facebook Live through Teachers on Fire, also on YouTube. So check that out, coming up in just a few minutes. So I do have to go for that. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Brent. I appreciate you being on, brother.
Thanks, Scott, for the opportunity. Really enjoyed the conversation, and everyone who joined in. Thank you. Appreciate everyone.
Likewise. Appreciate you all. Take care.